because you're being conscious, you can go back and think about your roles, remember where you were, remember the body positioning, and then ask questions. Be like, what do I do here? What do I do when they do this? And that in itself is just so helpful when you're trying to progress as a jiu-jitsu athlete. Definitely like the roles can't be balls to the walls every single round. So I started actually thinking about what I was doing, and then I was like actually able to ask questions because I can remember what I'm doing, and the pace is slower, so that makes it easier to remember. And then I just feel like the more knowledgeable you get, like the less hard you have to train because you are more in control of the pace of the role.
The speed at which news, ideas, and information travel can make truth hard to determine. For example, a study done in 2018 by MIT scholars determined that false information spreads faster on social media platforms than actual fact-based news. So where can we go for the truth these days when technology, even though it's expanded our connectivity, has the potential to manipulate our grasp of reality? Some people find it in yoga and meditation, others find it out on a run, some find it in writing. Off the top of my head, I can think of 2 places I know that misinformation doesn't exist. With a backpack and a few days worth of food, immersing myself in natural spaces as far away from the comforts of civilization as possible. A tree is just a tree. A raging river, even though it's beautiful, is not something to swim in. A mountain is just that, a mountain. No advertisements, no one selling me on innovations or improvements to things I don't need. If I don't respect the vulnerability of my place out in the wild, I could die, pure and simple. The second place I find truth is on the mats, training Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. In a live role, there is only truth. I am who I really am on the mat. I am not my job. I am not how much money I have. For those moments on the mat with my training partners, I am only as good as the time I put into the training. And no matter how much I could lie to myself about how badass I think I am or how invincible I could feel, there's someone that can easily put me in my place because they too have put in the time. Countless hours beneath the weight of another human being, trying to manipulate your limbs and strangle your neck while soaked in sweat. On the mat, everything is earned. There are no lucky bounces. You can't inherit skill. Everyone that shows up to train comes as they are, not who they are outside. Greetings and welcome to the Quake City portal. Our next guest is someone that finds their truth on the mat. Meet Sophia Cassella, a 22-year-old brown belt from New Jersey under coach Jason Rau. She's trained with some of the greatest minds that help change the sport today in what some people call the renaissance of Jiu Jitsu. She commutes hours and hours every day from New Jersey to New York to train with some of the best coaches and grapplers in the sport. Names like John Danaher, Gordon Ryan, Gary Tonin, Renzo Gracie, and all the greats that drop in there to train. To account for the amount of travel she had to do, she homeschooled herself through high school. She is currently studying in college while working and still finding the time to train and improve her game. That is inspiring dedication to the art. And going back to truth, it's interesting that this path she took, even though unconventional, is happening during a time when many of our long-established institutions and conventional ways of thinking are being questioned and retooled. Her competitive drive and work ethic have propelled her to be one of the rising stars in no-gi jiu-jitsu, best known for one of the fastest submissions in a women's match on Who's Number One at 37 seconds. She is also currently the Medusa EBI strawweight champion, a seasoned competitor, and a student of the game. She is determined to be the best, and how can you not be inspired by that kind of spirit? As you'll come to know during this conversation, Sophia has such a busy schedule. This conversation was recorded a few months ago as she had just finished up a whole day of working, studying, driving, and training, and still was gracious enough to sit with us for a chat. So with that, training out of Vanguard Academy Jiu Jitsu in New York, by way of New Jersey, please enjoy this episode about the mental game of training. the remarkable Sophia Casella. So the intention I wanted to have today is to focus on your inner game of Jiu Jitsu. I feel like you come from a very long lineage of great minds and thinkers, and it sounds like from what research that I did in leading up to this conversation, you have expressed interest in also carrying that legacy on as well. So I admire that in you, and I admire the your commitment to the sport, and you go great lengths to be where you're at, including driving. You know what is it? 3 hours, three
Round
hours
trip,
a
yeah.
day round trip, and then also you taught yourself high school to finish high school, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing in itself. And I'm just going to quote your coach, Tom DeBlas, from one of his posts that I saw. He says, she was in Texas last weekend, took silver in her weight and bronze in the absolute. Being her size makes it extra impressive. She drove 2 hours each way to train with me today, and she competes in Connecticut this weekend at Ironman Grappling. Now tell me if these ladies aren't training with the same dedication, how can they expect to ever beat her by the time she's a black belt? You need dedication, you need resilience, and you need to sacrifice. And by the way, the last ones on the mat today were 5 other ladies, and between the 5 of them, they all have 12 IBJJF medals. There's no such thing as luck. So my first question is, with your level of commitment and given all of the time that you put into this sport, what was the conversation with your parents like when you told them that you wanted to put as much time as you're putting into right now?
My mom was pretty okay with it because like when I commute, I drive myself to training. It's not like she's part of it. I travel on my own. Like she's not really like doing it all with me, so she's not like gonna tell me that I can't do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I mean, I pretty much do it all on my own, so I can just kind of do it as much as I want.
Yeah, yeah. And are your parents artists themselves? Do they know what dedication it takes to, pursue something of interest to you? Or
No, they both just kind of have like my mom works like an office job, and I don't even know what my dad does because he's not in the picture, but
gotcha.
yeah, she doesn't I don't think she ever had like something where it was she's very passionate about working towards like a specific goal. Like I think she always just like kind of grew up and then just kind of got a job, then got another job and just kind of fell into it. I think that was
Hmm.
more like her approach to life. It's just as long as she's working.
Are your parent? Is your mom? Was your mom born here?
Yeah,
Okay.
they're both born in the States, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting because, mostly, at least people that I know, if their children expressed interest in something, of course, it's like something that they'll support. But when it comes to dedicating, you know, full time, right, is what
Yeah.
you're. Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Uh, it's it's not common. I mean, even I'm pretty sure you know that too as well, right? That
Yeah. I mean it definitely took a lot of convincing to get my mom to let me do online school. Like
yeah.
a lot of convincing, like months of
Wow.
persuasion. But I finally got it and then I feel like she doesn't really care how much I train or travel or compete as long as I'm like still working and then also working towards my so
Hmm.
like
So
the
you
jiu-jitsu
you
stuff is up
work
to me.
on you work on top of training and going to school. You're going to college too, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. So you're managing all of that and you're studying to become or to get
I
a degree in.
I was doing oh I'm working towards a degree in exercise science because I was thinking about doing physical therapy school, but
Mhm.
that physical therapy school is like a ridiculous amount of work and dedication and studying, which I don't think it's worth it for me to do that because I don't want to be a physical therapist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just, when I graduate in the fall, I'm gonna take a year and see like if I can start making money in this sport, like if I can like train full time, maybe get a full time teaching job doing like teaching jiu-jitsu, like a job teaching classes at a gym, like that would be great. If I can get seminars, that would be great. If I can start getting more and more money for every match I get, that would be great. So those are kind of my goals right now. Try to make a living in
Awesome.
this sport before I have to go back to school, because it's like, hey, you need a real job.
But I mean, you've got all the chips in the right places. You're dedicating your time, and and I'm just curious, when you started teaching yourself, what year of high school was that, would you say?
Oh, I was a junior.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So the land we're pretty much I'm pretty much maybe 20 years older than you. So I have friends that are parents that have kids that have been through high school and are now in college. And the way that they describe the landscape of how kids are in high school these days, it's like social media is kind of like it has its claws weaving into everybody's livelihoods, right? So I'm pretty sure, and I imagine that you left that life, and it must have been like a really good decision for you. Do you think to just break away and educate yourself on your own?
Oh,
Um,
definitely. There's nothing
yeah,
I hate more than school or being at school or going to school. Like, especially high school. I hated high school. So when I got to do it online, I was like, this is the best day of my life. And I unfollowed everyone from school. And I was just like, I completely like just cut out that part of my life. And I was very excited about it. I was like, this is great.
yeah. I imagine too. It's got to do wonders for your mental health on top of doing
Oh,
jujitsu in
yeah.
itself. Yeah,
Like, when I
yeah.
was in high school, I remember like just there's so much busy work to do. They give you so much homework. You're there all day. You have to get up early. And it's just like, I remember constantly having like this insane stress headache, like right here. And then I think a
Wow.
couple months into doing online school, it finally like went away and I haven't gotten it back since. But I just like constantly had a headache being in school. Like, even
Yeah.
like, I just think breathing in the air in the building was just like not healthy for me. I just think public school is so gross. Ugh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think when people talk about the public school system, and I promise not to focus on this for a very long time. I just think it's very fascinating how they associate a lot of public school with um, and the students being online bullied and canceled or whatever for whatever reason because of social media. And I just I myself could not imagine growing up in that kind of environment. You know what I mean? With
Yeah.
just everybody knowing what you're doing, and then on top of that, not having an outlet like jujitsu to actually build a name for yourself through something that's actually respectable, rather than what kind of clothes you wear or what kind of music you listen to or who do you party with. So yeah, I guess in observing the people that you grew up with in high school, what's the biggest difference you see in most 22-year-olds? That I mean, do you still keep in touch with anybody from that world?
I don't. I unfollowed everyone. I don't talk to anybody. I have no idea what any of them are doing, and I don't care. I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was
Good,
happy to
good
leave
for
it all
you.
behind.
Yeah, and that's very rare too, that you were able to find something to latch onto as far as like something that you're really interested in, which is I think is more important than a cookie cutter education. If
For
you
sure.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that you're at the level that you are, and I remember being in my 20s and just having all the time in the world and the mental capacity to just focus on whatever you want to focus on, and the success that you've achieved, do you feel overwhelmed by expectations at all, or new pressure from the attention that you've been receiving?
I feel like lately I had so much hype last month when I won Medusa, and then I won on Who's Number One, and then I went into the trials. Like, I had so much hype going into the trials, and then I lost first round and that really sucked. So now I feel like even though I had that loss, like I still feel like if I were to enter, say, a cash comp, like finishers or
Yeah.
something, like I would no longer be like an underdog. I would be looked at as more one of the favorites to win. So I definitely feel pressure from that because it's not like people don't really know who I am anymore. Like, obviously, lots of people don't know who I am, but a lot of people also do. So it's like some people are like expecting me to win, and I'm just like, I feel that pressure for sure.
Because when I study your matches, I don't know. There's just like I told you earlier, there was just a fearlessness that I get that for some reason there's an impression that I feel like you go into the match with a big picture in your mind, knowing that maybe, hey, this is just one competition out of many that you've been doing and maybe that you're going to be doing in the future. So is that the approach that you take to competition, as far as like, hey, I'm just going to try something that I've never tried before?
Yeah, I try to just put myself out there as much as I can. I compete in a bunch of different weight classes. I compete in every rule set I can. I try to show off different skill sets every time I compete. I enter tournaments like regardless of who's in them, like prodigies, like black belts, like anyone. I'm down to fight anyone. And I think to myself, like, I'm only a brown belt and I make so many mistakes. And I feel like I'm still so young in this game and I've gotten so far already. Like, it doesn't even matter what I do as a brown belt because once I get my black belt, no one is going to remember what I did at brown belt. Like, no one.
Right. Right.
So I kind of just go out there. I try to put myself out there as much as I can. And I know that if I go out there and suck, no one's going to remember it in like 3 years when I'm a black belt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. What the willingness to train and perform at on a consistent basis, and your work ethic and how far you go on a daily basis, your work ethic basically, where do you think that came from?
Growing up, I always put my best effort into everything I did, especially school. And then when I started doing jujitsu, I think that it comes from just being so innately competitive. Like, I just always wanted to be, like, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be, like, the best one in the room. So I just, like, that motivated me to work harder than, like, all the other kids. I would train 2, 3, 4 hours a day, and the other kids would just do, like, 1 hour. So I would get better faster. And then, like, and then I would train with adults. And then I just, I don't know. I think it, like, the hard work, the work ethic just comes from me just being so competitive that I just want to be better than everyone else.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
just try to work harder than them.
And then going into your aspirations to teach, given your lineage, John Danaher, Tom DeBlas, Jason Rau, even Matt Serra, and especially the pool of talent in those rooms, are you studying and and observing how they teach at all, paying special attention to their communication? What are you observing in being around them?
I feel like the way John used to teach has kind of rubbed off on me a little bit, like where he not only explains like every small step and every small detail, but he also emphasizes why we do those things. So I feel like that has definitely rubbed off on me a lot, and Jason is the same way. I actually noticed that every time I am teaching and I get like a little nervous, I say like so, which is something that John used to say, and it's just like, oh my god, that was so embarrassing. That's not how I speak. So yeah, they definitely rub off on me like that, for sure.
So John used to say like so as just a filler word.
Yeah, like he would
Yeah,
be like, he would say like, scoop the leg like so, like as in like
I
this is how we do it.
see.
So he would say
I
like
see.
so all the time, and now like whenever I get nervous and I like need to fill in the blank, I say like so. Like, at least I'm using the term properly, but it's just not the way that I speak. Like, it's not part of my vernacular, so it just, like, I don't think anyone else really notices, but for me, I'm like, oh my god, that was so cringy.
Yeah.
It only works for John.
Right, right, right. And I'm sure throughout the years that you've been training for about 10 years, right?
It'll be 9 in the summer, so
9 in the
almost, yeah.
summer. Amazing. The way that they develop talent, the way that you've developed your talent, is there anything that you can speak as to what your or their methodologies are as far as teaching and training goes?
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like when I first started training with John, I was a 17-year-old blue belt. I was like very I was very like intuitive about the way I would approach rolling. So I would just roll, and I would roll really hard, and I would at the end have literally no memory of what just happened. So it would be hard for me to pinpoint my own mistakes because I
Mm,
wasn't thinking, and then it would be hard for me to think about like where am I having trouble unless it was in every single roll for a period of weeks and I'm like, "Oh, wait, you know what? I'm struggling here."
wow.
Because I wasn't aware of what was going on because I was just focused on moving. So I think like really something important that he teaches us is just how to be conscious when you're training so that you can see where you're struggling,
Mhm.
um, and then you can like because you're being conscious you can go back and think about your roles, remember where you were, remember the body positioning, and then ask questions, be like, what do I do here, what do I do when they do this? And that in itself is just so helpful when you're trying to progress as a
Mhm.
jiu-jitsu
Mhm.
athlete.
Wow. So I'm guessing that in noticing positions and where you're struggling, that a lot of slowing down has to happen,
Oh yeah,
and almost
definitely
like
the
a
rolls can't be balls to the walls every single round, for
yeah,
sure
yeah,
no.
yeah. So as soon as that happened, that's when you started noticing big differences in your game.
Yeah, because I started actually thinking about what I was doing, and then I was like actually able to ask questions because I can remember what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and the pace is slower, so that makes it easier to remember. And then I just feel like the more knowledgeable you get, like the less hard you have to train because you are more in control of the pace of the
Hmm.
roll.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is
So
is this something that's synonymous with a lot of John's students, where it isn't balls to the wall and everybody's kind of just training like almost like a little bit higher intensity than a flow roll, but not balls to the wall competition? You know what I mean?
yeah, I feel like a lot of us look at it like it's a technical exchange of ideas. Like
Totally.
it's not common that we just roll to roll and see what happens. Like we're usually thinking about what we're doing, um, because
Mm,
that's how you get better. That's how you develop skills. That's how you can solve problems when you can ask the
mhm.
right questions.
And then after let's say, is this consistent, where after every session of training you're asking questions on a nightly basis, or is it just something that's if it ever comes up?
I don't ask questions every day.
Yeah.
A lot of people do. I personally really like to take the time to think about my roles and try to figure out what I could have done wrong on my own. Like I like to try to problem solve on my own, but when I'm like really stuck, that's when I go to Jason. So it usually takes me a couple days and I'll be like, "Jason, I got in this situation like 2 days ago with this person and I was trying to do this, but then they did this and then like this happened
Mm.
and I couldn't do it. Like what did I do wrong?" And he has the answer to everything. He's like an encyclopedia.
Training under the world's best teachers in your field and the students that you have around, and you yourself as a competitor, um, in a sport that's taught mostly by males, have you ever given much thought about what you might be able to offer as far as a different approach to developing athletes as a woman?
I definitely think that the way my instructors teach, a lot of times like their techniques sometimes will be a little hard for me just because I'm so short and I'm so much smaller than everyone I train with. Like sometimes I'm just physically incapable of doing a move to somebody. And it's
Mm,
because they're bigger or stronger or like I just can't reach.
yeah.
So I think that one day when I'm teaching and I'm an instructor, like I'll have my own little insights, be like, this is how I was taught, but this is like my modification to it because I physically cannot do it the way I was taught. So stuff like that for
Gotcha.
sure. I'll definitely have some of my own insights by that time.
With that said, in balancing school and commuting and training and the work that you do, and I've noticed athletes at the highest levels are starting to be more outspoken about rest days, and not just in jiu-jitsu, but you know athletes like Naomi Osaka. I think I've even heard Gordon Ryan in an interview talk about how he doesn't train as much as he used to on a daily basis, or maybe the frequency. And you've been outspoken about it as well. um, how do you think that approach has changed recently on, versus the old grinded out mentality, I guess, which is still widely the idea of training?
I mean, I think it's just people in their own experiences are realizing like this is not the best way for me to get better. Like for me, because I do so much, I just feel like I get burnt out really easily, like maybe
Hmm.
compared to other people. So I definitely give myself rest days when I need them. Like if I am just so exhausted that I don't feel like I can trust myself to drive down the turnpike to training
Hmm.
safely, then I'll take a night off
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
don't want to like fall asleep behind the wheel. Or like I feel like a lot of times when I get super run down and super tired, then I start to get like really stiff, and like my like obviously really sore, and then like I might get like a staph infection or I might get sick. So
Right.
I try to just take days off when I feel really beat up so that I can prevent that from happening.
Going back earlier to what you said about being sometimes taught techniques that might not work for your size. And in such a male dominated sport, I imagine too that there's sometimes a night where it's crowded and you walk into the gym and you're the only girl that's on the mat, right? What's the first thing that goes through your mind when you see that?
Oh shit. This sucks. Um, but I actually have a lot of really good like male training partners, like especially like the competitors that are like blue belts or purple belts and they walk around like maybe 155. Like those guys make really great training partners for me, like as long as they can control themselves. I mean, a lot of times on days like those, I will have less rounds
Yeah.
just because like I definitely think it's more worth it for me to just roll with people I know are safe and like sit out
Yes.
rounds than it is to like pressure myself into training all the rounds where I might go with someone I don't normally train with and they hurt me when I'm preparing for something important.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
that has happened to me before, like a lot when I was a kid, because I would
Hmm.
get like so freaked out about not doing all the rounds because this is like back when I was like just grind all the time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess. So now I try to like not pressure myself too hard and just sit out the rounds. It's like better to be safe than sorry.
But what you do have going for yourself though is that I noticed I admire the smaller people, the women that train, because there is a level of absolute truth that you have to have in your game, that you can't compromise with weight or strength, and you have to have like a level of technicality in your game that, um, and even the tricks. I'm pretty sure you have your own set of tricks that if a certain move's not working for you, you'll do it your own way. So I assume that there's a level of perfection in the techniques that you train, and whether that's intentional or not, right?
Yeah.
With and does that come with, do you think that comes with just constant drilling? Is that your approach to training, or is it more just role focused?
I definitely don't spend as much time drilling as I would like. I would like to drill more. It's just like it's hard for me to find the extra time with how busy my schedule is. Like when it's summer, I'll definitely be able to drill more. My friends at Sarah's, they love to drill. Like a lot of times they'll stay after class or they'll go early before class and they'll drill for like an hour and I would love to like start doing that with them now that my schedule's about to open up in about 2 weeks. But my training right now, I drill every day with every class, but it's definitely more rolling focused, especially because, like, when we're drilling in class, we're not drilling what we want to work on, we're drilling what the instructor's teaching.
And as far as competition goes, do you have a visualization process that you go through?
I do, but it's definitely not what you guys would think. It's not so much a voluntary process, but my mind definitely likes to go to imagining myself getting my legs broken in competition. And I try not to fight those thoughts because the more I fight them, the harder they'll come back. So I just like let myself imagine the very worst case scenarios. I just kind of live through them. I try not to put too much emotion into them. And then when they pass, and I feel better and I'm ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're imagining the worst case scenario.
Yeah. I can't help it. I have to do it.
Yeah. It's almost like I'm the same way too, with not just competition, but like training, because it can happen at any moment. And that's the risk
Yeah.
that's the risk that we inherit, right? With training.
Yeah.
So, okay, like since you do imagine that, then do you imagine what your life would be like? Let's say if you were to like snap a leg or a shoulder, you know?
Well, I've already been there, so I know what it
Oh,
would be
you,
like. It would be terrible.
yeah,
Yeah.
no,
That part, it doesn't really go to that part. I kind of just imagine myself like hobbling around on crutches, but then that's usually when the imagination, like my mind just kind of is like, okay, we're done. We've had enough of
yeah,
that. Just like imagining myself physically getting broken like on one of the biggest stages, like that's where my mind goes when I'm about to compete.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
and then it's over and I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
yeah. What do you think the effects of consistent training and competition are on your normal life?
Oh, well, I I feel like I definitely can't put as much effort into school as I used to when I was younger. Like,
Hmm.
I kind of just do the work. Honestly, like, this semester has just been really hard. I haven't really gone to class that much. I just kind of do the work online and I just accept the absences because I just feel like so drained all the time, so overwhelmed, like, mentally and emotionally, that I can't justify driving all the way to school after an hour and a half long trip home from Long Island and
Hmm.
then like parking my car, paying for parking, walking across a freezing, ridiculously huge campus to get to a class, sitting there for an hour and 15 minutes, like not even listening, like kind of falling asleep. And then class is over, I sign myself in and I leave and I got to drive all the way home and there's traffic at that time. Like I just can't justify doing that. So I just accept the absences and uh I just can't like handle all of it like right now. It's like too much for me. It's never been like that though. I've always been able to handle all of it, but just like lately, because now I'm traveling so much and I do everything I do alone. Like I drive everywhere by myself. Like I'm always by myself. So it's just like a lot for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Self-care. Are you practicing any of the, you know, you said you'll take a night off from training if it's just feeling like a little bit too much. What else are you practicing? Like, for example, today after a long day of training, what was the decompression
I just love
ritual?
sitting on the couch and watching TV. I
Yeah,
love TV. TV's so great.
yeah.
Yeah.
I- Is there any like local parks that you walk around, or just to get your mind away from the daily grind of training and school? Because that sounds like a lot that you're putting yourself through.
Yeah, not like local parks really. But I do walk around my town.
Yeah.
It's a decent town. I walk around my town sometimes if the weather's
Mm-hmm.
nice. Like I went for a walk yesterday and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is in New Jersey that
Yeah,
you
I'm in
live?
Jersey.
Okay. I've never been to New Jersey. Is it like a big city or
It's just like a bunch of small towns smushed together.
As far as like competition wise though, do you feel like it's changed your mind in a little bit, as aside from the being burnt out outside of school and training, like the positive benefits for constantly competing on your regular life, on your normal life?
The positive benefits on my regular life. I don't know if
Yeah.
there are any positive benefits on my regular life because it's like
Yeah.
for me to compete, I have to like take off school and work and then spend all the money I spent the last couple weeks earning in my job to pay for my travel. And then it's like, if I win, sometimes I make the money back. And if I don't, I kind of just wasted all the money I earned over a
Mm,
period of, it doesn't really, over those weeks. Yeah, it
right.
definitely doesn't have too much of a positive impact on my regular life. It kind of just like gets in the way of it. But
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I like to think that my regular life gets in the way of my jiu-jitsu career. I like to think of it like that.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
my jiu-jitsu career gets in the way of like school and work because I don't care about school.
Yeah. Yeah. Win or lose, there must be some kind of confidence that you take away from, because not everybody is, crazy enough to do what you do on a regular basis. You know what I mean? And um, dealing with people, that seems to me that would be something beneficial from competition. Is that something that you think,
Um,
it just helps with being more grounded in yourself, maybe? Or
yeah, I guess maybe more grounded. I don't think it helps me deal with people because when I like compete, I kind of just focus on myself. I don't like talk
yeah,
to too many people. I definitely don't talk to too many people I don't know. Like
right,
maybe
right.
just communicating with like refs and the people who are coordinating the event, but that's like it.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
and I definitely think it just like the more I do well, like the better I do, it definitely brings up my confidence, but that doesn't really translate into my regular life. It kind of just translates into my jujitsu.
I
Yeah.
totally. And with that, you're talking about the money that you spend on competitions and traveling. Sponsorships. Have sponsors reached out to you? I'm pretty sure that might be a thing for you, right?
Sponsorships are definitely a thing. I don't really have too many people reaching out to sponsor me right now. I do
Hmm.
have a gear sponsor, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
get what you're saying. And then I saw in a recent post too that you're interested in competing in MMA one day.
No.
Oh, no, because it just said one championships.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
championship is like the biggest stage to compete on in martial arts and the guy who is the CEO, his name is Chatri. He wants to start like making jujitsu like a big thing, like more mainstream, and he's already signed some of the best jiu-jitsu athletes in the US, like Mikey Musumeci, Gordon and Gary. So like one day I would love to compete on his show. I think that would be
Wow.
such a huge honor to be able to like represent women's jiu-jitsu on the biggest stage in the world, like really bring it out there like this is something that women can do professionally and like I would love to be on that stage one day.
Yeah, yeah. I think it could happen. I mean, yeah, you're already on the right path. You just got to get rid of school.
Yeah.
These questions might be a little philosophical if you don't mind, but
Okay.
I think they're pretty fun. We'll see where
Okay.
this goes. Where do you hope to be when you're 30? What's the goal? In 10
Um
years, less than 10 years from now.
so I'll definitely still be competing, hopefully at like the ADCC level. Hopefully on the one stage. That would be cool. I would love to be ranked number 1 at 115. I think that somewhere between 30 and 35, I might like to open my own jiu-jitsu school so I can teach full time and then have that business. Yeah, but I definitely see myself doing jiu-jitsu like full time. Like I'm not working a real job. Like I just train all day and I compete and I teach and that's it.
Yeah, simple life.
Simple life.
Yeah. What what's the biggest hurdle to you?
Figuring out how to make enough money to live off of in jiu-jitsu, especially to be able to live in the New Jersey, New York area. It's
Right.
ridiculously expensive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just like San Francisco, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced the flow state? A state of flow, being in the zone?
Definitely before certain competitions, but I don't feel that most of the time.
You
Most of the
don't feel.
time, I'm in a state of like anxiety, worry, stress, frustration. I feel like
Mm.
anger is my natural state. Like, I feel like I'm generally pretty angry, and I think it's just because I have so much going on that I'm just like, ugh.
Oh, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Do you practice any, meditation at all or breathing exercises? Nothing like that.
No, I've been
Okay.
like this for so long. I don't feel comfortable when I'm not like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is
But
my flow state. Anger.
really,
Anger is my
anger
flow
is
state.
your.
Yeah.
But I notice, like when you're competing, even in some really uncomfortable situations, you just look very detached, like detached to outcomes, and I think that's where you want to be mostly, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't want to
Yeah.
be like getting all frustrated and emotional, like visibly, so people can see it and my opponent can see it and my opponent's coach can see it. Like, I don't want to like let them think that I'm tired or like getting frustrated or anything like that. Like, I definitely like to keep a poker face, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that taught to you by your coaches to have that demeanor, or was it something that you just picked up on your own?
This is something I've always had. I feel like my style of jiu-jitsu is like pretty flow. Like, I feel like I'm very calm, cool, and collected. Like, I'm not like aggressive or like physical or anything like that. Like, you usually can't see what I'm thinking.
Yeah. What were some of the athletes that you admired growing up, going up in the ranks as far as jujitsu goes, or any athletes in general?
I really like Gary and Gordon, like the Dan
Mm-hmm.
Herd Death Squad. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's like I just love their style. I love like they were like killing it on EBI, and then they were doing great at ADCC. Like, I just wanted to follow in their footsteps one day. And then they're also really good teachers, which is something I look up to a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of competitors are really good, but apparently they can't teach. So I would like to be able to do both.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely not everybody could teach, that's for sure. But, you got some great examples around you, and I can't imagine it being otherwise, especially with guys like Gary and Gordon teaching. Kind of, when you listen to them talk, it's like they're just echoing John John Danaher's.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's just the way of communication is just very simple and precise and makes sense. And you're saying that he explains the why too, which I feel like not a lot of jujitsu instructors explain. So,
Yeah, because sometimes people are like, well, why would I do that step? It seems unnecessary. So you tell them why. And then they're like, oh, okay.
and as far as seminars go, have you taught a lot of seminars so far, or is it? I remember you said there is one coming up for you next weekend.
Yeah, it's gonna be this upcoming Saturday. It's my first ever seminar. And it's gonna
Oh
be
wow.
virtual. So that'll be really interesting. Um, because like it'll be live and virtual, so people can tune in from anywhere. All they need is a mat space and a buddy. So it'll be cool.
Cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. How did you prepare for that? Is it like um, just a breakdown of your moves and having a buddy around you to help drill and show the moves?
Yeah, pretty much. To prepare for it, I pretty much just wrote out all my notes that I want to make sure I cover in the seminar, like the techniques I'm going to teach, the steps, and the whys. So I just have something to reference in
Hmm.
case I get nervous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and that's going to be great for you because you get to practice how your communication is too, which is, I feel like with this medium for me as a podcaster, I'm doing myself as well. So you can only get better the more you do it.
Yeah.
What favorite places has jujitsu taken you? Some of your favorite places, I mean, that jujitsu has taken you.
I love Knoxville, Tennessee. It was it's just like a cute town, and it like I remember just like flying in there and like driving in the car, and we have the windows down, and it's just like the air there is so much. It feels like it's like healthier to breathe compared to like the dirty, polluted New Jersey,
Oof.
New York air. It's disgusting.
Right.
Yeah, so just being like out in like, what is that, like the Midwest or the Southeast, or just like what is that area? I don't even know, but it was just so much nicer. And then the food was great. The weather was nice. I just really liked Knoxville. Where else have I been? I really loved Vegas. Vegas was fun.
Oh, Vegas.
Because
Yeah.
Vegas also has great food and great weather
Mhm.
around this time of year. Even though,
Yeah.
like, I didn't do anything that a normal 21-year-old would have done in Vegas because the friend I was with was only 20. And I was like,
Okay.
well, I'm not going to leave her behind. And, like, we came together, like, we're going to do things together. So we just did, like, tourist stuff, and it was really fun. I really liked, I think, Burbank, California.
Mhm.
It was like a cute little city with a lot of like really good Mexican food, I believe, and like malls and shops and stuff. I really liked that area. So have I been? Oh, I love Dallas. Dallas is fun.
Mm. Mhm.
Dallas food is good.
Yeah.
And I had fun last time I was in Houston. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I've been a lot of places, but like mostly just like the outer border of the United States. I haven't been anywhere in the
Yeah.
center yet. So maybe
The
maybe in a couple months I might do Midwest finishers in Illinois, so I'll get to see more of the Midwest, so that's exciting.
any aspirations of moving out of New Jersey and starting a school outside of New Jersey?
It's like hard for me to be able to commit to that just cuz
Yeah.
I don't want to leave Jason cuz he's such a
Oh.
good instructor.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I
yeah.
feel like that would be such a huge loss for me.
Mhm.
Like I literally drive across state lines an hour and a half, pay ridiculous tolls and gas to be able to train with him 4 times a week, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like I would have to wait till I'm like done competing, and then maybe I'll move to like, I don't even know. It's just like somewhere warmer and cleaner and cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's definitely something I want to do, but not while I'm young and competing and developing as an athlete. Like I definitely want my coach around. I don't want to I want
Right.
Jason to be my coach. So,
Yeah. That's awesome. And then traveling that far to get instruction and coaching, how far along in your career did that happen? And yeah, was it through their exposure through tournaments like EBI and
I mean, when I was in high school and I switched to online school, like that's when I started commuting to the city for training, and I would do that every day. But then when the squad moved to Puerto Rico, that's when I had to get a car, and then I started driving to Long Island to get training because I knew Jason Rau was really good. Even though I never really saw him at Henzo's that much, like everyone just talked about how good he was, and I was a fan, and I was like, actually, a lot of my friends from Henzo's that didn't go to Puerto Rico went to
Mhm.
train with him in Long Island. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just do that too. So,
Wow.
like, commuting to New York for training has been something I've done for the last 4 years. And at this point, like, it doesn't really feel like a big deal to me anymore. I'm like, this is just what I do. Like, this is my
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything that you like to listen to on those long drives?
Just music.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't really listen to podcasts. I like to just listen to music and roll the windows down and just like think. I don't know.
Yeah, tune out.
Yeah, tune out.
Keep it. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I just have one more question for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so yeah, I am a teacher and I have a lot of nieces and nephews, one of who, or actually a couple of whom just started jujitsu. Um, any parting words or um any advice to future people like your past 12-year-old self that is getting on the mat or wants to get on the mat?
I feel like just make sure that don't take yourself too seriously. Like make sure that you're just like enjoying what you're doing and actually having fun. because I feel like when you're super young and you take yourself too seriously, it can get like really, really frustrating. And then jujitsu, which was like originally something you started for fun, is something that like can add a lot of stress to your life, like when you're young,
Mm-hmm.
because you're so frustrated all the time. So just like remember why you started. You started because it was really fun, and just try to enjoy your training.
Yeah. What keeps you excited about going to jiu-jitsu, especially as after you've been doing it for 10 years?
I feel like it's the only thing that I've ever been able to stick with, just because I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy the people I've met through jiu-jitsu. Like when I take a day off, I'm like, wow, I really miss my friends. Like I wish that it wasn't so far away that like if I needed to take a day off, I can't just like go watch because it's so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the people I've met, and I really like seeing myself progress, and I really like winning. So it's just like all those things combined keep me going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you deserve it. You're a hard worker, and you were on time for this, and you could have said no, but this is awesome that you're willing to share, your ideas and your stories, and yeah, I think you're on the right path for sure. Take care of yourself. Don't get burnt out.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this. And I think I'll just end it at that. Anything else that you wanted to add or to plug?
I'm good. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm good.
Yeah. Go get some rest. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening. Check out thequakecityportal.com if you have any comments. Reach out to Sophia on Instagram. Show some support and thanks to her if you found this conversation informational and insightful. Please share this episode. Check out our other episodes related to sports and grappling listed on our website by topic. Just to name a few, just Jake Luigi of Less Impressed, More Involved YouTube channel, Martin Ruiz, a collegiate wrestler and wrestling coach, Franco Soriano, ultra runner, and plenty much more to come in the episodes ahead. So with that, thank you all again for listening. We'll catch you all down the road. Thank you so much.